Hello and welcome to another edition of Paydirt Remote. I'm Dominic Piper. Today I'm joined by West African Resources Executive Chairman, Richard Hyde. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dominic. Thanks for having me.
Richard, momentous times for the company. You recently brought on your Sanbrado gold mine online in under budget and ahead of schedule in Burkina Faso. That's a rarity these days for a mining project. How did you achieve it?
Early on, we laid the foundation with some really solid geological work, our feasibility studies that we put out in 2018 and 19. And then I think we were fortunate putting together a really good team to build a project with Matt Wilcox and his team. And they really fitted in with our existing team really well. And I think probably thirdly, we ran a fairly tight process or a thorough process for project finance and selected Taurus at the back end of 2018. And one of the key reasons why we chose Taurus was to get access to capital early. So we actually signed with Taurus in December, and I think we drew down $75 million US in early April 2019. So having access to capital early meant that we could really get on with things.
We've seen in recent years, particularly here in Australia, that reaching first gold pour is only the start of the challenge in front of a mine. And there are still a few more obstacles to negotiate. What are the milestones that you personally are looking towards as signs that you're really on a secure footing with this project?
Well, I think first of all, getting the plant up and running into steady state. At the moment, we're kind of maintaining a kind of constant throughput of about 8,000 tonnes a day on some highly oxidised material, making sure that the open pits are reconciling, and so far they have been pretty good. And then really the big sort of milestone for us will be dropping the first stope at M1 South. So currently we've done development on the 2120 level, which is about 180 metres below surface. And we've got more development work to do above that. But we're pushing to drop that first stope in quarter three 2020, and that's when we'll really see the grade pick up and also production pick up at the project.
Richard, how difficult is it to build a project like this, a multi-million ounce project in a country like Burkina Faso, a developing country?
Look, it's a challenge. So I can see that myself and the executive team did somewhere between 8 and 10 trips to Burkina Faso last year and the year before. So it means you've really got to be motivated, get on a plane and see how things are going in country. It's really important to put together a team that's got experience in doing things or to building the projects. A project like this in West Africa or in Burkina. So we had the benefit of the team that we put together had that experience, allowed us to use a lot of local contractors.
Right. How important is it to ensure that you've got a lot of local content and that there's an economic impact on the local community when you're building a project in a place like Burkina?
Oh, it's hugely important. So we employed a lot of people from the local community in construction. We trained them in construction methods to build our camp. And also it builds that goodwill. There's an economic benefit immediately when you start work or start building on the projects. And it's different when you're building in West Africa instead of building in Western Australia, because you're building amongst your stakeholders. So often people are being relocated and being trained in how to build their new homes as well. So it's really important.
We're going to hit the underground stoping later in the year, and that's where the real juicy parts of the ore body are in that high grade M1 South. Can you continue drilling that further? Is there more expansion to that resource?
Definitely. So the deepest hole we drilled was in 2018, and that was over 20 metres, 25 metres at 15 grams, and that's at about 670 vertical metres. We had planned to start drilling again in Q1, so in March, and then obviously with the coronavirus restrictions going into place in Burkina, it made it really difficult for us to carry out that program. So we pushed that out. But now that we've got the restrictions being lifted, we're expecting we can actually start drilling on that on M1 South again, either late this quarter or early next quarter.
Sanbrado isn't your only objective anymore. You've been on the acquisition trail with the purchase of a million ounce deposit, the Tuego deposit from B2 Gold. What was the rationale behind that deal?
I think given how close the project is to us, it was unlikely that B2 were going to carry on and build a standalone operation. It's 1.1 million ounces in resource at just over 2 grams per tonne, but that's all constrained within a 1,400 US pit shell. So there's still potential to expand the resource outside that, given the gold price is now much higher. So we'd expect we get a pretty high conversion on Toega. It's got conventional metallurgy, so that's suitable to our operation at Sanbrado. There'll be a full feasibility work to do. We expect to have that completed by the back end of next year. So we plan to start drilling directly after the wet season this year. So late Q3, early Q4, we'll start drilling. And then towards the back end of next year, we'll really get started with the permit applications in Burkina Faso for converting that into a mining license. I expect we'd look to bring Toega into the production schedule in about year 3. And then, if you actually have a look at our schedule from our recent presentations, production does tend to drop off after about year 5. So that's where we can really have a big impact, and I'm pretty sure we can maintain that to around 200,000 ounce production or higher to the back of the schedule out to sort of 10 years.
West African isn't the only company doing M&A activity at the moment. It's really bubbling to the surface in West Africa at the moment. Is it building up to something big, and is WAF going to be involved in what's happening?
We certainly don't want to be a single asset producer, so we want to remain focused in Africa. So we're having, running the rule over a few projects at the moment. There's a lot of really good early stage exploration, which I think is positive. But we want to kind of redeploy our build team and look to build another significant project. I think I'd like to see West Africa as a 3 or 4 mine producer, over the next 10 years.
You mentioned earlier that Burkina has got restrictions around coronavirus and COVID-19. Has that affected the way you've been operating in the country? Towards
the end of March, when the restrictions came into place, the Burkina government closed the international borders. We were advised pretty soon after that the borders were open for freight. So we've still been receiving shipments of consumables and fuel. And then more recently, we've managed to work with some of the other mining companies in Burkina and get a charter flight going. So we've managed to rotate some people off-site. We closed our site at the end of March, so really reduced the people movement and our potential impact. If we would have brought the virus onto site and potentially spread it into the local population, that's something that we were really mindful of. So we reduced our risk of doing that. We've been temperature testing people coming in and out of site for nearly 2 months now. If you have a look at the way Burkina handled the shutdown, quite quickly we realised that the economy was still going to keep operating, so we could still get freight through and fuel. I think having the experience, or the government would have had that experience from 2014 and 15 when Ebola had kind of gone through a few countries in West Africa. So I think what they have enacted or put in place is pretty close to what would have been an Ebola response plan from 4 or 5 years ago. And so far so good. It's worked. There's been around about 50 recorded deaths from COVID in Burkina. The anecdotal sort of evidence seems that hospitals are not being overwhelmed with sick people, which is really positive. And a similar story throughout other countries in West Africa as well.
Yeah, so it's really positive to hear. Richard, thanks very much for your time today. Good luck with production for the rest of the year, and maybe you leave it there over there and be able to see some of that stoping occurring before too much longer. Thanks for your time.
No, thanks very much, Dominic. Take care.